Inside Michigan Football is presented by Meyer.
Hi again, friends, and welcome to another edition of Inside Michigan Football. Doug Karsh alongside John Jansen, and John, we're at a bye week. Michigan 5-5, not what they wanted, but I will tell you what, we hear the outside noise, and some people think players on the team have quit. And the last performance against Indiana, I think it was pretty clear. I shouldn't say they think they quit, but they're suspicious because of the way the season's going. They didn't quit.
No, there's not going to be any quit from these guys. There are guys that aren't going to be here next year are competing for jobs in the NFL and draft status. Guys that are going to be here are competing for jobs on next year's roster because of the way things are with the transfer portal. Like, you just never know whether it's here, it's somewhere else, or it's the NFL. You're always competing for that next rep, whether it's next week or next year.
If you take a look at the defensive effort, actually it wasn't that bad against the number one team in the country, especially in the second half. Then you put together the two halves they had against Indiana. That could be something that could carry them into the latter portion of the season. People thought this Indiana offense might be one of the best in the country, if not the best in the country.
Well, it was a team that was averaging over 40 points a game. They held them to half of that. And when you look at, we're always looking for something to build on. Second half of Oregon, did that carry over to Indiana? Yes, it did. And then because they were able to start fast, they forced a punt in that first drive. Then they take it to the second half, and again, it was more good. And that's what we thought the defense was going to be earlier in the season, but they got there now.
As an eternal optimist, we've seen that defense turn a corner. What about offensively? Can they do that bye week, extra practice, and carry some momentum into the last couple games?
That's a lot of optimism. but so what you got to do is it all starts up front. And this is a week where guys are going to have to really hone in on technique. They're going to have to trust what Grant Newsome, what Jerome Moore, what the offensive staff is teaching them. And I mean, I talked about this earlier in the week, where if you don't have anybody in your gap, you're running a gap scheme, you step there, you trust your technique, either someone's going to be there or the assignment will take you to what that is. But it all comes down to trust. If you don't trust it, at some point you are going to abort.
Based upon your experience, you played on two teams in 1995 and 1996 that didn't reach the goal of Big Ten championship or national championship, but at the end of the year they did something special. Yep. And you remember what it was like to win that last game and how much it meant to your teams in 95 and 96.
There's a lot of different things that are motivating, a college kid. One of them is, hey, there's something we can salvage from this season. Beating Ohio State. There are some kids on this team that have never lost to Ohio State. They don't know what that is, and I pray to God they never know what that feels like. And if you can leave here having won 4 times, if you're starting your career, you want to be able to win that first one. There's a lot of different factors that motivate, and there's going to be everybody telling them for the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you can't beat Ohio State. That's motivation as well. Well, we know that the last thing that coach is thinking about right now is Ohio State. It's all about improvement. It's about Northwestern, and obviously Ohio State at the end of the year. But I had a chance to sit down with him just a few moments ago. Here's what he had to say. Our conversation with the coach is brought to you by Meyer. Coach, how have practices been so far this week?
Really good. This is buy-in week, and we're excited, the opportunity to get better, and that's what we're doing.
When you think about some of the young players that are developing, now they're 10 weeks into the regular season, what are you seeing from some of the young guys?
Yeah, excitement, humble, ready to go, ready to work. Guys like Jordan Marshall, Michael Capana in the running back room, JoJo Edmonds and Mason Curtis in the DB room. Those guys are really, really good. They're coming onto their own. Cole Sullivan, another young guy. So really excited to watch those guys keep competing.
We got a chance to see Jordan Marshall in some of the kick return game. What are you seeing from him when he finally gets on the field?
Yeah, I mean, he's got the ability to be extremely explosive. He's been kind of dinged up, and we finally got him back healthy. So ready to let him loose. What
are some of the veterans doing this week? If they're not out there for some of the improvement practices, how are they getting their bodies right for the final 2 weeks?
Yeah, they have a little bit of practice. We're doing it like separating them and still getting work, so they're still getting good at football. And but they're just staying locked into the game plans and trying to get better.
How do you manage the time for this week, where it's still film study, still studying the game of football, but it's also being physical, whether it's in the training room or on the field?
Yeah, I think you got to be pretty smart, especially being so late in the year. You still want to have that physicality and build the callus for the games, but you got to be smart and get in the recovery for the games as well.
How about the weekend? You guys going to get a little time off?
Yeah, they'll get some time off, and then we'll get back Sunday and ready to work.
How about the coaching staff?
Yeah, we'll see about that.
Any chance you're going to watch any college football this weekend
Yeah,
outside of Northwestern?
Yeah, I'll try to watch some. I don't know how much, especially my 2 little girls. I get home, football is kind of off limits for them, so they just want to watch. They got their own stuff. Yeah, exactly.
Weekend.
So,
Coach, thanks for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Coming up here on Inside Michigan Football, why does Michigan quarterback Davis Warren wear number 16? You'll find out. Also straight ahead, we'll hear from the athletic director, Ward Manuel, on his role with the College Football Playoff Committee.
Inside Michigan Football is brought to you by Meyer, presenting sponsor of the 2024 Michigan football season, proud sponsor of thousands of local sports teams across the Midwest.
This week's Elrose Steelman of the Week is Colston Loveland. The junior notched his name in the Michigan archives at Indiana with his 53rd catch of the year, tying Benny Joppru's single-season record by a tight end set in 2002. He's also within range of the single-season and career yardage marks held by Devin Funchess and Jake Butt, respectively.
The fact that I got 2 arms, 2 legs at work every morning, like that enough motivates me to go out here and play every day. Friends, back home, a lot of other things, but those are the main things that motivate me.
Through the ups and downs of this season, quarterback Davis Warren said he's consistently practiced hard, all the while being grateful for any and all opportunities that come his way.
That's something that I really take pride in every day, is taking full advantage of it, whether I'm the starter or whether I'm not, or whether I just got benched or whatever it is. So it's just really important to me to in my ethos, to be that type of guy and be the charismatic and, just optimistic guy that I am, and smile and hope to put a smile on some of my teammates and friends' faces.
Davis's backstory has been well documented. California kid, walk-on, a teenage cancer survivor. On a whim, I asked him why he wears number 16 and walked into a great side story.
I've always been a huge Jared Goff fan. So he sent me a video when I was sick. I ended up meeting him a little bit after, when I was still going through treatment, and he probably never gets to meet those kids he sends videos to, but we got to meet, and we actually trained with the same coach out in LA, so we've always been kind of close, and he lived nearby me in LA as well.
I was out throwing with him years ago. We threw with the same trainer, and I was like, that kid's good, who's that? And they're like, actually, he missed a year because of the leukemia, and now he's got to go to the prep school, and I'm like, shoot, man, whoever gets him is lucky to have him. And it's fun. I've texted back and forth with him. It's fun that we're both in the same state now, representing the teams we do, and I'm rooting for him. He's a good kid, and I root for him.
We've stayed in touch, and I've always been super fond of the way he's played the game, and obviously the way he's responded to adversity. And then, he even texted me after the Texas game and just checked in on me, and told me to keep cutting it loose and be me. And so it's just a really special bond that we have.
Davis is thrilled for the success Goff has had with the Lions. He even attended a game earlier this season.
So fired up for him. It's been super cool to follow his development and just development of that team. Brad Holmes came and spoke to us 2 years ago just about the culture that he was building, the idea of grit. He gave one of the best presentations I've ever seen in this building, and we've gotten a lot of them. I didn't grow up a Lions fan, but I've definitely turned into one, just following them and following him, and just so proud of him and all those guys. And man, they've been cutting it loose, and they've been lighting up the score sheet. So it's been super fun to watch.
Davis compares the grind of a long college season to train cars. He says there's no time to pause because there's another one coming. It's a ride he clearly enjoys taking every single day.
Thank you, Ed. Davis is such a great kid and such a great story. And, you look at that first drive against Indiana, scripted drive right down the field, and he really showcased his arm on that drive.
He did. I mean, he was able to find receivers. He found Colston Loveland a couple of times. They really mixed in the run along with the pass. But his command of the offense, you could really see him start to grow and start to be more comfortable on the field.
In 3 consecutive games now, he hasn't turned the football over. That was the problem earlier in the year.
Yeah, again, it comes down to growth. And what I wanted to see from him against Indiana was not just being cautious with the football, not worrying about turning it over, but actually going out and making some plays. We saw it against Oregon with the 2 touchdown passes. Those were in tight windows. And then against Indiana, it was the same thing.
Bye week, keep grinding. Offense will be on the field against Northwestern. Coming up next weekend, Straight ahead, here on Inside Michigan Football, we'll catch up with the athletic director, Ward Manuel, to talk about his role with the college football playoff.
Inside Michigan Football is brought to you by University of Michigan Health. There's a difference between an answer and a Michigan answer. Visit MichiganAnswers.com.
Welcome back to Inside Michigan Football. Doug Karsh in the athletic director's office with Ward Manuel, of course, in charge of the Michigan Athletic Department and in charge of the College Football Playoff Committee. How is that job?
It's good. You know, it's been interesting for the last couple of weeks as we work through it. Being the chair after being 2 years on the committee, it's a little bit different in terms of managing everything, but it's been great. Great colleagues, great staff. Rich Clark is awesome, the executive director, and his staff. So it's been really good.
Okay, what is different being the chair as opposed to when you were just on the committee?
Well, talking about what the committee is doing, you know, and talking on TV, entertaining questions in conference call after I do the television, talking to radio after I do those things, just to explain and to be transparent about what the committee has talked about, how they're looking at how we ranked. And so it's an important part of it because people want to know why certain things happen the way they do, and the ranking comes out the way it is. But other than that, it's the same.
So college football fans are extraordinarily passionate, and sometimes that passion leads to perhaps them being a bit irrational. And so when the standings come out, there's always going to be fan bases that are upset. Mm-hmm. How do you deal with the upset fan bases that give you feedback?
Well, we take it in. I mean, we understand that there are people who are going to disagree with the outcomes of some of the rankings and where they are. But I think it's important to know that everybody really cares on that committee and is really working to make sure we pick the top 25, the best 25 that are out there, put them in order that we see them based on a lot of different data, based on our views of the game and how we see the game, how we see the teams playing. But we know when we release it, people are going to be disappointed at times. But we hope that people would just understand that the committee in general, the 13 of us that are making these votes and these decisions, really care about college football, and we want to get it right. You know, last year, the last 2 years, I've had to step out of the room. You know, it probably bothers me that I don't have to step out of the room, but I mean, we are supportive of Sharon and his team. They're working hard.
Final thing, you mentioned Sharon and the team and how they're performing and working hard. It's obviously easy when you're winning every game. Yeah. How has the interactions been with Sharon and the players this year, which has been more challenging?
Well, I just think, listen, man, I played the game. You know, I've had times in being on a team, particularly here, where you lose, and it's hurtful, right? You want to understand that people are hurt by the fact that they're losing. Nobody's happy. You know, the ride home is not. People are singing and joyful. But the one thing I love is that Sharon and the staff have kept at it. These student athletes keep working at it. Nobody's given up in terms of their effort, which is one thing you can see pretty clearly when you play the game. And so the tenacity and the approach and the way that they approach the game, I've just been proud of, even though don't like the outcome, they don't like the outcome. But it is what it is, but I'm proud of the way that they're moving forward.
Thanks for your time. Best of luck.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Coming up here on Inside Michigan Football, the Michigan hockey team off to a heck of a start, and a lot of excitement about Dusty May's men's basketball team. That's straight ahead here on Inside Michigan Football. Welcome back to Inside Michigan Football. Other things happening around campus. The 7th-ranked Michigan hockey team opened Big Ten play with a 2-game series sweep of Notre Dame last week at Yost Arena. That is 7 consecutive series wins over the Irish.
Yeah, just good for our confidence to go 4 in a row and back-to-back sweeps and singing a song on Saturday night. Never going to play a perfect game, but similar to the Lions, the guys are finding ways to win, and that's what matters, and stepping up at the right moments.
That's back-to-back sweeps over ranked teams for the Michigan hockey team. There's also some growing excitement over at Chrysler Center in Dusty May's first year. Our Ed Kengerski has more.
The Wolverines have flashed an exciting brand of basketball through these early weeks of the season, upbeat and aggressive on both ends of the floor. They've also shown a togetherness that serves as a blueprint for what they hope to accomplish. After a recent game, Dusty said Chrysler will soon be full because of the way they play, the way they interact with each other, and because the way they represent Michigan. I asked him to dive into that comment to begin our conversation.
Sports are they're so encompassing on society, on the university culture as a whole. And if our players are supportive of each other, they're playing for each other, they're doing something outside of themselves, they're playing for something bigger than themselves, I think it resonates with the common fan. And I don't want to say common fan because we appreciate all of them, but it resonates with people who are watching sports. Nothing brings people together like sports, and nothing inspires people more than great effort when the team you're rooting for is playing the right way.
Can you describe the commitment and the excitement you have seen from your players going back to summertime?
They've been, our players, since they got here, have been willing to work. They've been very intentional to develop relationships with each other. It's been a great group. I mean, we have flaws. We're not a perfect unit yet. We're striving to be as close to that as we can, but it's just a group that they're great people. They're going to have very successful lives after basketball. They're a very intelligent group, and they're conscientious of each other and just being good people. So that's something, as a coach, you want these guys to when they leave here, to be employable and be people that are going to give back.
You have an excellent reputation as a recruiter. What do you tell potential Wolverines out there?
It's a different message for every player. We try to be as honest and transparent and let the recruits know what our plan is. Plans obviously change, as all coaches know, but I think if you tell them exactly how it's going to be, you don't sugarcoat it that much, then they have a real feel and expectation that it's going to be difficult, it's going to be a lot of hard work, but the opportunity's there, and we're also selling something bigger than just our program. The Michigan brand, the Block M, the culture and passion for this place are separators for us in recruiting, and we want players who want to embrace that as well.
What do you most want to see from this team early on, just to know you're on the right track? Is there such a thing?
Yeah, a level of toughness and unselfishness. Those are the two things that we really pride ourselves on. And if we play with grit and passion and toughness every single minute of every game, and then we're unselfish with our approach and the way we execute offensively and defensively, then we'll be happy and feel like the results will take care of themselves.
Lastly, is there a motto of any sort you can share that will resonate with fans, that will remind them what this program is all about from this day forward?
We're still trying to organically come up with our own motto. One we've always used is simply servanthood and competition. We love to compete in everything we do in a healthy way, and then we want to look out for each other. We want to play for the guy to the left and to the guy to the right, and as coaches, our job is to serve and love our players, and their job is to serve and love each other.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
This is going to be a busy fall for the Wolverines with trips to Fort Myers, New York City, and Charlotte, North Carolina. And mark it on your calendars now, a new season of Inside Michigan basketball begins on January 5th. For Inside Michigan football, I'm Ed Kingersky.
What I am proud of is the fight that we have, and each and every game. We fought till the very end, and that means something. And as players, as brothers out there, knowing that no matter what's happening, my guys to the left and right of me are gonna fight.
All right, so John, next week Northwestern coming up, final game for the seniors, which is always special. Coming out of a bye week, there wasn't really the jump forward in the Illinois week. Can they do it this week?
They certainly can, and having watched them at practice, I know the techniques that they're working on, and it's not just O-line techniques. I talk about that a lot, but it's at every single position. If they can continue to improve, they've got to gain some confidence against Northwestern, and they should be able to, but it's about coming out there and being able to perform. Got to have good offensive line play. You got to have rhythm on offense, and you got to build that confidence and then feed into what the defense is doing. Defense is taking the ball away. They're stopping other offenses. Like if they can play complementary football coming out of the bye week, it's a great start to the end of the season.
Well, there you go. And we will look back at that Northwestern game next week here on Inside Michigan Football. So long.
Inside Michigan Football is brought to you by Meijer, presenting sponsor of the 2024 Michigan football season, and proud sponsor of thousands of local sports teams across the Midwest.